Welcome back to The Vault. I'm your host, Christina Kahler. Today, we're exploring how community spaces can inspire connection, learning, and wellness. From beautiful gardens and educational programs to special events that bring people together, Lauritzen Gardens has become one of Omaha's most treasured destinations and has become nationally renowned, being named the number 3 best botanical garden in the USA Today Reader's Choice Awards. Joining me today is Ennis Anderson, CEO of Lauritzen Gardens. We'll talk about the garden's mission, the impact they have on our community, and how partnerships help support opportunities for people of all ages to connect with nature. We'll also get a preview of one of the garden's signature annual events and hear why it's a must-visit experience for anyone who appreciates great design, beautiful gardens, and giving back to the community. Ennis, thanks so much for joining us today.
So glad to be here.
To get us started, I wonder if you'd share a bit about your journey. What led you to Lauritzen Gardens?
I always loved nature from my time of being a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
And, after almost 16 years of hotel management, had this conversation with my mom that a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And my mom said, "You're really successful. You're making a lot of money, but you're never happy." And she's like, "What would make you happy?" And I was like, "Nature." And she was like, "Well, go find a career doing that." And a couple days later, Fort Worth Botanic Garden called and said, "Hey, would you be our CFO?" Did that for 8.5 years and, just loved, being in nature, but also what nature can provide, for so many people. And it really opened my eyes to see how so many different people can use one place so differently. After I helped merge Fort Worth Botanic Garden with Botanic Research Institute, and it became Fort Worth Botanic Garden altogether, running as one organization. Omaha called, and I came, and it was different from the start. I tell people a lot when they ask me, they're like, "Well, why Omaha?" And it's the people. So it's like, through all the different interview processes, there were a lot of places that, weren't a good fit. At that time, I had a 6-month-old baby girl. Omaha's always in the top 5 of places to raise a small family. So, one of the things that really stood out to me is I wanted to be in a growing city with a growing garden.
And you've been such a gift to Omaha and have done so much for the gardens. Tell us about Lauritzen Gardens. So you have a lot of perspective on gardens in general. Tell us a bit about it and what makes it so special.
There's so many things that make it so special. It's one of the few gardens that are close to or right in the middle of a big city. It's also, our history. We're one of 12 gardens in the country that are on a type of landfill. It's a lot about the people and also some of the practices that we do that are a little different. A lot of gardens, they buy 4-inch pots from the same growers. At our garden, we grow 80% of our own plants. So we grow from bulbs, we go from clippings, which really allows us to pretty much grow whatever we want.
There's so much to see, so many different types of gardens. Can you give us a sense for some of the areas around the gardens?
Yeah, so it's, one of the things is we're really working to be that space and place for all. So, a little something for everybody. So it's like we've just finished a trip around the world. So so many different distinct regions, but one of the things we wanted to do with the reimagine of the conservatory is, what are those once in a lifetime type plants that we could bring back to Omaha. So, I don't know about you. I may never be on the African savanna, but we have the baobab, the tree of life.
Yeah,
we have
incredible
once in a lifetime plants from all over.
Yes.
And then from there, of course, we have the new Sophia's Play Garden.
Yes, which is spectacular. Can you give us just a sense when you describe Sophia's garden, one of the newest parts of Lauritzen Gardens, what that's like?
So, I fondly say I'm kind of impartial, but it's like the best 1.1 acres in Omaha.
Yeah.
So, it's a children's garden, but, we want kids to be able to just play in nature. The plantings are robust. The first bed that you see is Los Hills. Los Hills soil and plants are only found in 2 places in the world, here in China.
In Sophia's garden, the little buildings, our family's just absolutely loving it.
Yes, and one of the things that's really great to see is when we were talking with the designers that designed the houses, I asked, hey, can we make one door on each set of the houses a little bit bigger? And they said, well, can we ask why? I want a kid, that may be in a wheelchair to be able to have the same experience as their peers. And to see that come to fruition and see everybody to be able to play and just be intentionally inclusive, it's been awesome.
We've talked in visits to the gardens about the accessibility and inclusion and just how important that is. There are other pieces that are being built right now at the gardens. Can you tell us about what's coming?
Last year, we, as the garden, we decided to do the garden's first accessibility audit to be more intentionally inclusive and also to be more accessible, some things that, we needed to change. So, one of our last projects before we dive deep into our community-inspired master plan was the Woodland Flyway. So that's currently under construction and it'll be done the first week of November, but we're really excited because it's 1,200 linear feet, but it's also 100% ADA.
Now the Flyway, if you can describe it a little bit. So I've seen it under construction.
So it's the new way that guests will enter the garden and exit the garden. So, everyone, and we've heard it a lot, that hill that's at that 15% grade, it's not fun going up. So we have over 20 plus gardens. By taking the Flyway, you start out right in the middle.
Yeah, so it's kind of an elevated path. Is that fair?
Yes, at its tallest point would be 12 feet into the tree canopy.
So I know that visitor experience and guest experience is really important to you, and obviously your background in hospitality. How do you bring that to life at Lauritzen Gardens?
You take care of your employees, they'll take care of your guests. It's not customers.
Yeah.
It's guests.
Yeah.
And just being welcoming and really training and coaching up and teaching the staff, every person matters, and just welcome them into nature. And it's always will lead to a positive guest experience. My director of development, one of the funny things that she always says is, you can't be crabby looking at all of this beauty.
That's so true. And you feel that at the gardens. So when I think about the gardens, you all do an incredible job across the year providing exhibits, events, and moments for people to connect with nature. Why do you think that connection to nature is so important for all of us?
It's like mind altering, just being in a different state. And I'll always remember, one day in the kitchen with my grandma and we were helping her make dinner, and she said, oh, we're going to have yams. And I was like, oh, great. And I was like, Grandma, there's none in the refrigerator. And she's like, go outside in the back. We're going to go to the garden. She's like, you see that lime green plant? Tug on it. Okay. And I tugged on it, and it's a sweet potato. Knowing, and seeing where your food comes from.
Yeah.
And that positive, memorable experience in nature. This year was the first year that we did a full 6-week orchid show.
Wow.
Where we highlighted the vanilla orchid. And not a lot of people know that, vanilla bean comes from an orchid.
Yeah.
So it's like seeing the kid's face of seeing this plant that climbs up a tree.
Yeah.
And that's where vanilla ice cream comes from.
Yeah.
So that's why we do what we do.
Yeah.
To inspire through accessible educational experiences with nature.
Especially for kids, understanding how it all connects and that moment with you and your grandma does help really bring that to life. Can you tell us a little bit about your leadership style and philosophy and how that shapes the experience at the gardens and how you work with your team?
One of the things I like to do is I like to keep things really simple.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really 3 things that I tell the staff all the time. We're going to be honest in everything we do. We're either going to win or we learn. We treat mistakes as opportunities. And one of the commitments that I make to the team is I'm going to protect the treasure. And they get tired of hearing that from time to time. But the treasure is the staff.
Yeah.
And it's all of their unique personalities that make the team and make the garden what it is. For me, it's that guiding principle. Back to what I said earlier.
Yeah.
Because happy employees, happy guests.
So true.
Just finding time to celebrate when we can. All of the successes and also all of the hard work. Because, the work is hard.
Oh, I love how your leadership is inspiring them to think big. So thinking about your events across the year, you have a lot of really special times for people to visit. Are there any that you'd want to highlight for us?
Sure. Like right now, we have 13 animatronic dinosaurs that are screaming and roaring throughout the garden. But we do several color changeouts throughout the year. We have the almost million daffodils that really kicks off the spring. But we also have other different plantings throughout the year. Now with the Quinn Family Oasis, we have our new concert series. And, we're really working to get to about 20 concerts, but not just music. Because we really want to engage all of the performing arts.
It's such a smart addition.
Yeah, and it's getting people further in the garden.
And you have an ambitious goal, I know, of visitors to the garden.
Part of the vision is to be the world-class botanic garden of the Great Plains area.
I love that.
And how we're getting there is education, conservation, and horticulture. Like so many other gardens, it's simple. Admission drives membership, membership drives philanthropy. So it is all about getting as many people through the doors to see all of nature's beauty.
Absolutely.
So like this year, we're on pace to have our busiest year yet.
Incredible.
And pass our 300,000 threshold mark that we've been trying to hit for a while.
So as you think of the opportunities ahead, what gets you most excited?
We're right in the middle of our strategic plan, business plan, but community-inspired master plan. And the community-inspired part, it's really going to help us to be for the community, by the community. We're asking some tough questions. Who's coming? Who's not? But more importantly, why not? But also, what would you like to see in our garden, in your garden, that would get you to come more often? And just sitting back and listening to the community, our board of directors, our trustees, our donors, and our community partners.
When you think about community partners, how important is that in fulfilling on your mission?
Community partners are really important because it's the way I think of it is we're better together. How do we work together to benefit the citizens of Omaha?
And in addition to the community partners, I know that volunteers are really important to the gardens and volunteering in all different ways. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
A little shameless plug. We could always use more. So, there's so many ways to volunteer, whether it be, horticulturally, and helping out our horticulture and grounds team, but also, other volunteers. Like we need volunteers for Sophia's Play Garden, but also, for all the different events that we do.
You have one of your most anticipated events of the year coming up, the Antiques and Design Show. Can you tell us a little bit about what makes the Antiques and Design Show so special and just a little bit about it in general?
Sure. So one of the ways that I describe it is it's like a antique roadshow dropped in the middle of a beautiful garden. It's 4 days and there's just so many different treasures, relics, and things that all have unique stories. One of the things that I really love about the antique show is it's always evolving. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year, but it's also become one of the events in Omaha. This year's show, one of our headliners is Bunny Williams and Elizabeth Lawrence, and they're cutting edge for design. So we're just really excited over the 4 days. It's September 24th through the 27th. We start Thursday with the preview party.
Yeah.
And that's the fun garden party
Mm-hmm.
and kicks everything off. And then the shopping starts from there.
Yeah.
And, Friday we have a lunch. We also have a lunch on Saturday
Mm-hmm.
and then a lunch on Sunday.
Yeah.
We have design walks. We also have speakers Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
And where's the best place to buy tickets and get more information?
LauritzenGardens.org, our website.
Perfect. So as you think about that kind of stewardship of home, what role do you hope that the gardens plays in the future of the community?
We want to be that space and place for all. As part of my vision, that's the hardest part of my job. There's so much to enjoy. And, we just want to be that place that everyone comes to be in nature, but also see a lot of beauty along the way.
For people who are planning a visit, when's a great time to visit the gardens?
Well, of course, I'm going to say all the time. So, there's several different things in different seasons.
Yeah.
So like right now, it's the dinosaurs, but it's also, we're getting close to another color change out for our fall.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we lead into our light show. After that, we have our new Lego exhibit. It's the largest exhibit. So the ones in the past had about 15 to 20 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
This one has 42 pieces.
Wow.
As you get into winter, we'll be doing the orchid show again. So it'll be orchids and Legos.
Oh,
and
neat.
then springtime comes, you'll see tulips, crocuses, but also our lovely display of daffodils. There's something for everybody.
Truly.
And it's whether it's our educational classes or you're just walking, the nature trails, the arboretum, or going through the conservatory where we house a lot of our rare endangered plants. With the conservation, we're really working hard with our other partners to try to get those plants that are rare or endangered back on the path of resiliency.
With all of the development happening downtown, you have an exciting new connection, a new garden downtown in Polina Gardens. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So it's a 1.2 acre peat Aldorf garden.
Okay.
And it's really exciting to be able to bring one of the top 3 living garden designers in the world to Omaha and design a garden that used to be a parking lot.
Yeah.
So it's like we put in 89 trees in over 1.2 acres.
Being around plants all the time, I'm sure you have many that you love, but do you have a favorite?
Well, it's really hard to have a favorite because there's so many. One that I'll pick, and it's a newer plant. It's part of the conservatory, but it's our silk floss tree. It's from the Amazon, and the staff lovely nickname is Bowser because it looks like the Mario character.
Does it
and
really?
The trunk has all these thorns.
Yeah.
And what's so amazing about it is you would never think that when you come in September, it has a hot pink flower larger than the size of your fist.
Really?
Yeah. And it's so beautiful.
There are all of the special spots that you've talked about in the gardens. Is there one hidden gem that people shouldn't miss?
One of my favorite, and it's where I did my first interview when I first got here, it's the peony garden.
Oh, they really are so beautiful. What's one thing that you hope every guest takes away from a visit to Lauritzen Gardens?
One of the things I think about is plants were here before we were, and they'll be here after we're gone. So just, a simple time in nature and just be able to revel in the beauty. But also, we really want to spark the curiosity of plant lovers everywhere.
Ennis, thanks so much for joining us today. It's been great to talk with you. We so appreciate your leadership in the community, and we're really proud to support your mission. and looking forward to all that's to come this year with the Antiques and Design Show and everything that's underway at Lauritzen Gardens. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us. If you'd like to learn more about Lauritzen Gardens and the Antiques and Design Show, go to lauritzengardens.org. We'll see you next time.
The Vault is brought to you by FNBO, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Podcasts are for informational purposes only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. This content is educational in nature and should not be considered financial, tax, or legal advice. When making decisions about your financial situation, consult a financial professional for advice. References to third-party organizations, services, and websites are for informational purposes only and do not constitute an endorsement by First National Bank of Omaha. Any third-party services or organizations referenced are separate from First National Bank of Omaha. Podcasts are not regularly updated and information may become outdated. Deposit products are offered by First National Bank of Omaha, member FDIC. Investment products are not FDIC insured and not a deposit or other obligation of the bank. Not insured by any federal government agency. Not guaranteed by the bank and may lose value.